Hi, everyone, and welcome to WorldView. I'm Beatrice.
And I'm Donald.
WorldView is a podcast where we explore everyone's perspective on all things that can broaden our worldview. Today, we're talking with Lisa Brown. She's an internationally qualified makeup artist and hairstylist and has a big passion for doing and teaching not only makeup and hair, but business, fashion, and everything that life has taught her thus far. The Lisa Brown International Academy, bookings for weddings and other events can be found on lisabrown.co.za. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Hi guys, it's nice to be here.
Right.
Lisa, so tell us, how has the lockdown affected your business?
Well, first of all, having a makeup school, everything is practical and we're very close up to everyone's faces. So obviously that has affected our business a lot. And having international clients coming down to South Africa for weddings has been postponed now for at least up to 12 months. So
that's quite intense. Has any of the clients that you've previously... Oh, wow. Okay. Has any of the clients that you previously had posted some sort of interest in terms of doing it online, or have they been in contact with you since this all started?
Yes, we all have been in contact. It's been a real difficult journey because weddings has been postponed more than 3 times at least. So they will, all weddings, all brides, for example, in April, has moved it to December and realized maybe December is too quick and moved again and maybe moving it again. So new brides coming in is taking up old days. So it's a little bit of a, you can just imagine the admin.
No, it must be incredibly intense. And also, have you been able to, what part of your business has at all been able to be transitioned into an online format, or do you think it's being so physical and up close, it's almost impossible to transition any of that?
Yes, so I have my makeup school online now. That's at least something that I did very quickly, and it's actually doing very well because people all over the world can do my makeup courses. So that's really nice because there's a lot of students in Namibia, for example, that always wanted to do the course but lives far away. So there's a lot of, obviously, there's some positive things out of the online course that has happened.
So that potentially actually expand your students. That you actually have.
It's something I should have done a long time ago. But never had the time. So,
That's interesting because we've seen in a lot of other industries, especially in education, and so that people have actually found that this is something they've been trying to do for quite a while, and now they've almost been forced into it, and they're actually happy about it to some degree. But especially in your industry, I'm not specifically talking about your bookings for weddings and other treatments that you may do. It's literally impossible to do it if you're not in person and face to face.
Yes, well, also with new protocols, because you have to disinfect every single product, and we have to wear a mask with the face mask with like a suit thing, so we can take it off if there's a virus on. So there's so many, and every little product you use, you have to disinfect. So you can just imagine the whole protocol we have to follow. So that's why.
But how do you make up someone with a mask on? And what's the point if he doesn't have a mask on?
Yeah, that's the thing that we're all asking, because it's not clear. Nothing is clear on the makeup industry. And I'm just scared to do something and then I'm not allowed to, and then they name and shame, and then something like that can close your business if you don't know what's happening.
Especially
so I'm just waiting a little bit.
Right. Especially in an online format, public perception and online reaction is actually very important to your brand and how you manage that, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So I'm just focusing on the online at the moment. And then once we are not allowed to wear masks for a while to do makeup, because I can't teach with a mask on. I can't, it's makeup. It's very visual. So I don't know.
But as on your website, you specifically say that through your training that you did at MAC and the London School for Fashion, it's London College for Fashion.
Yes, London College for
Fashion. That you've had some experience in terms of classical and new trends that come along. I'm assuming that at least in the fashion business and the people still wanting to make themselves as beautiful as possible, the incorporation of the mask has actually led to a new type of fashion, hasn't it?
Yes. It is actually everywhere, and also with the online course, we are also launching now styling. So bringing
Styling
styling
for
and fashion
masks
up.
or
So
with
yes, that's
masks.
something I always, yes. So the fashion and the styling is also something that's coming into our academy. So, but yeah, the face mask is something I've actually have a couture face mask made for me out of sequins and everything. But if you wear it, so many people stop you, and that's actually something I don't want to.
It's almost
make people
counterintuitive.
notice me more when I.
Yeah.
So,
It's almost counterintuitive that this thing that's supposed to, you have to practice social distancing according to regulations and
yes.
according to, keeping yourself safe. But in practice, the entire idea, at least from my perspective of fashion, is to attract attention as to beautify yourself and to portray yourself in the best possible way.
Yeah.
Is
Well, that's
that
something probably I need to do.
Yeah. Is that a counterintuitive perspective that you've had an opinion on, or how exactly have you felt about this? The social distancing, where you're actually trying to keep people away, but at the same time you don't want to feel like you're alienating everybody around you.
Yes. Well, I am actually enjoying the distance because I don't like running into people. I don't like small talk a lot. And in my business, I do a lot of small talking. So with the social distancing, I'm quite liking it because you're wearing a mask, you can't see who the person really is.
Right.
So there's no more small talk when you're buying milk or anything. So I'm fine with it.
Yeah, no, it's I think for some
as
of
long
us,
as it can.
yeah, no, for
So
some of us, it's been an absolute, easy to adjust to.
yes.
So we've from your background and your experience in terms of the college in London, we know that you have seen the differences in perspective in terms of culture and fashion, and so compared from, say, something like London in England to South Africa.
Yes.
I don't exactly know when last you've been in London, but how exactly does the culture compare in terms of London and South Africa in fashion and otherwise, in something that's some interesting points that you've seen?
Well, London is definitely 6 months before us with everything.
Okay.
Especially with fashion, they are way up. People in London is more creative regarding fashion, so they're more daring. So you will actually walk down in the streets and people will be dressed over the top fashion, head to toe to fashion. Where in South Africa, we are more for comfort. We wear clothes that's more comfortable. Ladies
and
are
cheaper, probably.
And cheaper. People in London would rather spend all their salary on clothes, where here we'd rather save the money. So that is quite the culture that I saw, and I'm one of the people that will spend all my money on clothes. So,
Right.
So you probably all know that the makeup industry is very competitive. Do you have any interesting anecdotes to share about how competitive it really can be? Like a story and a makeup session or something like that?
There's too many. But
obviously you don't have to name names.
Yeah, there is a lot of competitive people, especially in the makeup industry, because there's so many, and also I make a lot of makeup artists, so there's obviously I'm just bringing in more competition. Well, let's say competition. So I'm actually filling, a lot of people say I'm filing up the whole industry. But I found in my life now that when I see someone, like for example a makeup school, they've thought about that, and with the online courses they've thought about this thing and this thing, that makes me actually like up my alley and think, oh flip, I should do something else, or I must be more creative. So it's a very healthy thing to have competition. It makes you think further. So that's how I've seen it the last couple of years.
So that's interesting perspective you add there, specifically because you have an academy and you're teaching a lot of, or you're bringing up a lot of new makeup artists. You're actually generating your own competition. How much of what they bring in and the perspectives on new trends do they teach you in comparison to you obviously being the one that's teaching them?
Yeah, patience.
Okay.
They teach me. No, the thing is that what's for me very nice is they keep me on trend, because there's so many makeup products. You can just imagine if you go to Clicks and Discounts, even the shampoos you have to buy, you can see there's so many different options, and because I'm getting older, I'm getting stuck with products that I like and I know it works. That's typical how life works. So when students come in, they go to clicks and they experiment more with the product. So they introduce me to a lot more products that I like. So they're basically doing all the research for me of products. So,
and
that's nice.
I'm assuming that this actually changes depending on who you're talking to in terms of where they're coming from. So you're having more international students now from all around the world, especially with the online business. Has those perspectives sometimes been actually in contrast with each other? And do you think that's pretty much location dependent, or is there some other types of subgroups in terms of society that determine fashion trends?
Yeah, no, that's definitely because I'm trying to keep up more with the international trends anyways, because ours is a little bit delayed. So regarding with the fashion stuff, if people are doing it overseas, I make sure that I'm on the trend already that's before the season. So I think I'm answering your question right.
No, you're understanding it perfectly. And then I also specifically thought along the same lines, a lot of under industries that I explore more necessarily than fashion, specifically talk about innovation as the one that, or innovation as the element that keeps people coming back to your product, that gives you an edge, a competitive edge in the environment. How exactly does innovation happen in the fashion trend? And does it happen naturally, or is it, a new industry decides, okay, this trend has expired, we need to think of a new trend to be able to keep people interested? Like, how exactly do you think that does that work?
Well, how they normally say it is history, like fashion repeats itself. So it's a very repetitive cycle with fashion and trends. And well, in my industry, is it very interesting that the Kardashians are actually setting it, because they've got the fashion makeup brands like the Kylie Jenner.
So basically celebrities.
Yes. So it used to be fashion designers that started the trends, but now the fashion designers contact them to give the exposure, and then everyone follows what they're doing. So that I'm more because of the beauty side, and because they have got the big makeup brands, because Kylie has the biggest makeup brand, so everyone's following by the trend. So that's how I was back. It's actually.
It's interesting that the effect of influencers on so many levels is something that I almost see that, changes. Sometimes the influencers have so much power, and sometimes people have a extreme public backlash towards influencers because they're disconnected from reality. But in this case, they are the people that lead the industry, so they are the reality.
Yes. Unfortunately, that's the thing that nobody, because even her makeup artist is one of the most reckoned people in the industry, because he makes products, everyone follows them, it's the most seen pictures. So even him, Mario, his name, everyone follows to see what's the new trend with makeup, and then everyone starts doing it. It's the same in my course. I have to do makeup looks that he's inspired and has done, because people want to know how to do his makeup. So that's how the whole trend thing works.
Lisa, in high school, did you ever think that you would one day become a makeup artist?
I started, I think, when I was 13 already with the makeup. And then I set my mind to it and did not very well in school, because I focused only on becoming a makeup artist. But that's the only thing that I always wanted to be in fashion and in makeup. So I've been doing it for very long now.
Well, it worked out well for you in the end.
Yeah, well, let's see after lockdown.
Oh dear. Yeah, that's true. Do you feel like actually it's a good point that Donald now raises, that how, or that you raise as well, high school evidently didn't prepare you for an industry that is massive and successful across the world, and that garners a lot of attention. It's like, in what way did you said that you didn't do that well in high school because you had to focus on this career that has become very successful for you? Don't you think that high school in itself doesn't actually prepare people enough for different industries, or maybe did it bring you back? Did it keep you back high school?
I don't have very positive feedback on high schools.
Right.
But yeah, so for example, my high school was not very creative orientated, so there was a little bit of a backlash on telling them I want to be a makeup artist and telling me it's not a career and you will never be able to make it a business. So I've had a lot of that, and even in still in discussions where people ask me what I do now, say I'm a makeup artist, and you can immediately see the judgment on the face, like, because the makeup artist has like a certain box in people's head that it's either a dumb blonde poor girl, meaning like, shame, she can only be a makeup artist. I've got that a lot of judgment over my life, and that's why I wanted to create the school where people can actually see that it can become a massive business, and people can actually get paid nicely if they put the work to it. But high school is not creative orientated, and they frown upon being creative. So, but that has actually motivated me. So
that's actually fascinating, because it feels like there's such a massive disconnect. I mean, on the one hand, you say that, upcoming, people that really are interested in this and have a passion for this, they're actually being entirely, they're not encouraged at all to follow this trend of work, this line of work. And yet some of the most successful people in the world, and their products and everything is so respected, is the most successful makeup artists and everything. So do they think that these makeup just start successful? Like, obviously they have to start from somewhere. So why is there this disconnect? Or is it South African specific even?
Yeah, no, it's definitely, but also I've got a lot, like, I mustn't say but I've got a lot, like, you got a lucky break or anything like that. But like I said, it was since 13, a lot of sacrifices, a lot of working over, because I used to work for MAC to start off my kit, because I had to build up a kit, because a kit cost a lot of money, just buying a lot of makeup.
Yeah.
And even that I had to put the hours in over December's, Christmases, work, New Year's, everything. So I put the work in, and did a lot of free work to get my name out there. So
and you had to handle all these dysfunctional families at the day of the wedding, and
that's true as well. I mean, like, exactly how has your experience been in terms of people's like at before a wedding? Everything is pretty. Sometimes it's very tense. Other times people are very, very calm and relaxed. But like Donald just said, sometimes you have these. You're at a wedding. It's a very big day. Everybody has a lot of attention and effort put into it, and then like everything like almost starts to fall apart because of the stress and the preparations. Like, how do you, as a makeup artist, someone that not necessarily is, you don't even know the family, but you have to come in and you have to do your part that's so incredibly important to the success of the wedding. How do you handle that personal element?
Yeah, and it's a one day only type of thing as well. So it's a lot of pressure. Weddings, I don't think people actually understand what a makeup artist at a wedding have to go through, because it's the amount of stress in one room, and bickering and old stuff coming up, and people don't know how to deal with stress as well. So people get rude. So I get spoken to a lot very rudely and very impatient. But there has been a lot of, I can see at a trial, when I do the trial beforehand with the bride, I can already immediately pick up if there is problems before the wedding.
And how do you deal with those problems? So what goes forward, if people start to attack you? So does it change from?
Well, after 10 years, I don't, I tell you how it goes. So I'm in charge then. I've had my fair share of, I've even put on shoes for the brides. I've done a lot of weird things to make you calm and help. But now it's just, I'm actually professional. I've worked my ass off to be here.
Right.
I can't say ass, but so it's either like you have to show them that you are the professional, and you have to have respect in the situation. And obviously I know better, and I know how I have to be in control, because there's a time management involved. So if there is drama happening or something is delayed, I have to take control to make things happen.
Right. And as a professional, do you almost, you have that capacity to tell them like, okay, no, this is not the way it's going to work. Let's go forward this way. Is that also, have you?
I think, sorry. But yeah, I think what really helped was when I launched my academy, a lot of people had more respect for me. So now when I do weddings or trials, people are like, oh, but you've got a makeup academy. So they immediately has a step up. So that's even a lot more respect. So people know that I actually train people. So, Isaac, sorry.
Sorry, is this someone you know?
Yeah, my boyfriend next door.
Oh, okay.
Isaac. That's an accident.
Oh, no worries.
That's fine.
He's welcome to join the conversation.
There you go.
There you go.
I don't know what happened.
No worries. That was interesting. So,
you're basically like almost like a psychologist at the day of a wedding. I mean, you're playing both sides. You have to listen to everyone's stories, and I would be interested to know what would you say is like the ratio, how a successful the marriage would be, like the average marriage you attend as a makeup artist. Would you say 50% of those marriages would actually end up successful? Or just by intuitiveness, just by judging it at the day?
Oh. I've got I can say it like this, I'm not going to name, but it's weird because there's a specific venue in Somerset West that I've done weddings at, and all of them has been divorced.
Wow.
Okay. Really?
Yeah, that's why every time I have a wedding there, no, literally it's every wedding I've done there and actually attended have been divorced.
Wow.
And it has horrible stories. So it's weird how this one venue I think is cursed because
it's perhaps not necessarily the wedding, the venue itself, but perhaps I've always found sometimes that, especially like, for example, in the restaurant business, I know for a fact that if you have a certain restaurant, you have a certain style, and you attract a certain type of customer that expect a certain class of service, that you're almost inevitably going to have someone that's dissatisfied with your service because you set that bar. Is it perhaps like the type of people that venue attracts that generally turn into those type of tensions? And do you think there's a correlation between that?
Yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, it's definitely, it's one of the most expensive weddings venues. So if you have a wedding there, it costs around about 1.5 to 2 million to get married.
What?
So so you can just imagine the couples and the families having fights because it's mostly money, or showing people that you have the most beautiful wedding and then you end up paying it afterwards. So that's definitely one of the reasons. But
wow, that is very intense. So do you think it's because they do the wedding more because it's, a spectacle, it's a status thing, it's something that they can share, than necessarily, the proper meaning of what it means to form a life together in terms of weddings generally? That breaks them apart.
I must say the most I can't say most weddings, but I witness a lot of weddings where it's over the top. It's like, there was one bride that had, I don't know if you guys know Swarovski. It's like
unfortunately
crystal.
not, no.
Right.
Yeah, Swarovski is a famous crystal place, but
right.
So she wanted a champagne glass, so they drink champagne before, and then she's getting dressed and stuff. So this bride freaked out when the photographer was taking pictures with her, with holding just a normal plain champagne glass, because she would rather want the Swarovski crystals plastered on, that people can see that there was diamonds or crystals on her champagne glass. Like,
oh, that's terrible. Oh wow, that's amazing. No. So I'm in the unique position where my brother recently got engaged, and him and his fiance, they're very happy, and I think they'll they'll have a very successful marriage, but they're way more focused on the small scale. They, you know, they're interested in having a wedding that has very few people in it, and that's more focused on family. As someone who has a lot of experience with weddings, they're now currently planning their wedding. What advice would you give them from experience frame of mind in terms of what's the most important things to focus on in that regard, in terms of planning the wedding?
I've actually asked so many people of brides that I've seen, that I've done, asked them afterwards, like, what is one thing that you would do over? And everyone says they would have done a smaller wedding.
Oh, really?
And save the money to rather buy a house. Because think of it, you spending so much money on your wedding and entertaining people you probably don't even like.
And it's one day.
It's one day, and having people judge you on your wedding day that's not even your close friends or family members you haven't spoken to in 10 years. Like, it's so many things, and it's rather spend that on buying a house or buying a car with that money that's long lasting than only 8 hours. So keep it small, intimate, and only invite the people. So Nathaniel says it the best.
Right.
Only invite people that at least knows your dog's name.
Oh, that'd be terrible, because everyone knows my dog's name.
So at least they've been to your house and actually know your dog's name. So if they don't even know your dog's name, then they're not close.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's one thing that
very good perspective.
Well, you're going to be in trouble if your dog has a common name.
Yeah, and I post a lot of the dogs, so people will know my name.
Yeah, no. For dog lovers, it's a problem, because that's probably the part that everybody knows about us the best.
Yes, that is true.
But it's a good measure, you know. They're homely people. You've invited them over. It's a good measure. Donald?
Yes. True.
So, what advice would you give to other aspiring students that would want to follow in your footsteps? What should they do differently, and what should they follow you? So, like, what did you do right?
And what did I do wrong?
Well, both are extremely valuable lessons.
How much time do you have left to hear what I've done wrong?
Apparently unlimited.
Unlimited, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good thing. So advice would be, and I hate it when people tell me that, because it's time.
Right.
Because like I said, I took very long to not be where I am, because I can always be better, but time, and you have to also, it's a lot of work, and people they want the shortcut with everything, and that is very annoying for me to see. I don't know if I can say annoying, but how everyone wants to have, but can you just contact them, or can you just give me a number so I can also get in there? Like, it doesn't work like that. And also, if you don't really like I've seen with the makeup and stuff, if you don't really like it, then you will never be successful. So you have to have the passion. Otherwise, it's just another job.
It is something that's extremely difficult. As someone, I've given classes at university for the industry that I'm in, but as something it's actually extremely difficult to tell that to someone who's very young, who have so much time left. I'm still, of course, still young, but my point being is that, you know, if you're talking to a student, that's the students that I taught were 19, 20 years old. So if you tell them, you know, time is a very small amount, you know, you have to put in the time, you have to get it done, you have to, you know, make the most of what you're given. I've always found that to be almost ineffective, because they almost like brush you away immediately. Like, okay, yeah, sure. And then later, when they've learned that lesson, they're like, oh, damn, that guy was right. It's like, what do you think is a more almost a very effective way of hitting home the most important parts, or in terms of what you've learned by teaching people? You know, what was some of the stuff that they've actually responded the best to?
Being strict and honest.
Okay.
That's why I've become very strict. I like because I like to push people. When I actually see that you have potential, I push you. It can be seen as an annoying personality or trait of mine, but I like to push. If you know you can do better, then do better. That's my motto, basically. So, and throwing them in the deep end.
Oh, yes.
They know me for that.
Yeah.
So
that's where they learn the best.
Yeah, because what's that saying? Nothing comes from your comfort zone.
Right.
Nothing grows. What is that? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, no, I understand what you mean. I'm seeing a lot of similarities between industry that I'm very interested in is the culinary industry. It's also extremely competitive, also an art in its best form. And you also have a lot of these famous chefs that, they're popular for being extremely rude, or at least they have that image about them. And yet, if you explore maybe in their life a bit further, they're not actually rude. They just know how to push people, and then people think they're rude, So do you feel like there's a similarity there between as well? Some of the best people in the fashion industry are also is rude, but actually just because they have the right intentions.
Everyone in our industry is rude.
Right. Yeah.
And it's a lot of pretentious personalities as well. So it's a very careful industry, and you have to be very honest. There's something like the same with hairdressers and makeup artists. A person in your chair, they easily open up because they're vulnerable. You're busy doing something that's very insecure to them, so they open up. That's why they're vulnerable, and that it tends to talking, and that it tends to gossiping with the client, and the makeup artist, the same with hairdresser and client. Yeah. So that's one thing in this industry, is a lot of rumors and a lot of talking about each other and not wanting the other one to succeed. But that's not just our industry. I think that's a competitive women in general is like that. But that's definitely something that should be more careful and focus on, is actually knowing that working together we will actually succeed more than stepping down on each other.
Right. But, yeah. I mean, it is at the heart of a competitive nature that you're actually competing with other people. So it's very difficult to both be someone's friend and then have to try and get the step up on them. That's an interesting balance to maintain.
Yes, and that's exactly like the same with talking about fashion, because you said the comparison is that when they have their fashion shows, they have the runway, and then they invite certain designers to sit in the front row so it can give them more traction, and say Michelle Obama was at the fashion show. So it's the same as the makeup industry. If I've worked with famous people, it makes me a better makeup artist, but it doesn't. It just gives you better contacts. Right. So it doesn't put the bar for you knowing that you're better, but it's the same how our industry works.
What are the famous people that you have worked with? I know one of them is a cricket player.
Yeah. I've worked with a few, and I hope I don't have to work with them.
That's an interesting story. We might go in on that.
I'm not saying names. So.
No names, no pactorals.
I've done very famous weddings. I've done a lot of sports, cricket players, and my recent one that I'm working now is Liane Durant. She is, I don't know if you guys know who she is, but she's part of my online course, so people can actually meet up with her, because I thought that is something very cool to actually have a course, and then at the end you can have a Zoom call with a celebrity that you always inspired you. So that I thought was a nice bonus. Yeah.
And you said you have a Zoom call with them. I'm assuming that, especially in what you mentioned now with the runways and the shows that they have for fashion and makeup, that was an event that everybody got together, and you got the exposure through the media that reacted to the event. With these events being now in Zoom and online, how exactly does the exposure work there? And the famous people, how do they carry it? Just through their social media profiles, or?
Yes, that's the only way we can go, is by doing that. But now at least we can do a little bit of shoots now. So I think you can be 5 people, and then we can at least have a photographer and all of that. So we can now be creative. So we are busy thinking out now new ways, because every month there was new rules. So but Zoom was the way.
Right. It's interesting. Yeah. That one's really what picked it up. You're saying now about shoots. That's actually quite interesting. I know from from seeing photos and other type of professional shoots from people, that both the camera and the makeup almost play an equal part in terms of how someone is portrayed, at least in a virtual sense, or in a picture or so. How closely do you work with photographers to ensure that the work that you've done is actually displayed correctly?
Well, I actually have a diploma in photography. That's the first thing I studied, and then I went back to makeup. So I've got that behind my name as well. So I've got an eye for photography. So when I plan the shoot, I can tell the photographer what to do, which I'm not supposed to. But yeah, I've got the whole vision, and I think camera, and I always know what works on camera, and that has actually helped my academy a lot, because that's an extra add-on to the eye I have with fashion and makeup. But makeup makes the life easier for a makeup artist. That's why photographers recommend good makeup artists, so it's less editing work for them.
Right. Okay. And that's interesting that you mentioned editing. Is like, there's actually extremely, I mean, I'm sure you're well aware of the, the controversy that there is with how people are portrayed after the photo, because I mean, the photo, it's a photo. It's like, before you start editing it, people can't complain really about the result of that photo, because that's just a picture of, reality.
Yes.
But the second you start to put editing to it, some people say, okay, well, now that's unattainable. It's like, I can't ever look that good because you've now changed that. What's your opinion in terms of the role that editing plays? And, I'm sure, like a lot of people go way too further than that. They don't just edit it, they actually change how the person looks in virtual.
Yeah. Well, it was very interesting. I was quickly at my dad's place yesterday, and his fiance showed me a picture of a beautiful woman, and I looked at it and I was like, these are actually like that Snapchat filters. She's got literally a filter on with lashes and makeup. She doesn't look like that.
No.
And she said, oh really? So that's what I've seen in the makeup industry. That's very sad. Is there's a lot of makeup artists posting their work that's edited, and that has actually happened in the past. That I'm not using a certain makeup lecturer anymore, because she edited so much how she looks like that when she came to my class, people didn't recognize her, and people actually didn't have they were laughing more about her and what's happening. So I can't have someone that's portraying something of, guys, just edit. You don't have to actually learn how to do makeup. You can just edit it. That's actually the message she was giving to my students, and that's not the way to go. But the editing, for me, that's a bit annoying at the moment. If you see videos online, people talking about their makeup brands or the makeup they've done, and then you can see it's literally a filter, and then I'm like, man,
what's the point?
There's no point, and it's just annoying. Delete.
but is there then a role for editing? Like, exactly what type of editing enhances what you're doing but doesn't actually change it from reality? Or do you think that there shouldn't be anything, like the final product should be the picture that's taken?
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's becoming the photographers are also moaning if they send out the pictures to the models, they're also putting filters on it. So it's just, there's no cut off with the filters being done. So it's kind of it's just a struggle in our industry at the moment. But it's just going to continue to get worse because there's just too many. But
I mean, now on YouTube you get videos where the person's face is actually changed. And I mean, in one person it's an actor talking, and another instance is suddenly Tom Cruise. They changed the voice, they changed the actors in movies. The quality of the editing is now so great. I mean,
and you can change your background. Yes. So
and also the access to these tools are actually quite broad. In terms of the access to, you don't need makeup, you just need editing, that message that you now said, like the access to be able to do that is actually, the bar is quite low. A lot of people can teach that for themselves and they have the tools to do it. What bars of entry do you feel still exists in makeup, and what has actually lessened over the years as technology has improved?
With regarding makeup?
In terms of the bar of entry, like editing is really easy to do. It's really low bar. Makeup, is there still stuff that prevent people from going into that industry?
Yes. So what is actually very great at the moment is there's I don't know if you guys know TikTok.
Yes.
The app. So there's a lot of things on there that's actually very good for makeup artists to make your videos better, to present it, because 90% of our work is social media. We have to do everything on social media to show people how good our work is. So there is a lot of the technology and the internet is very good for us. It's very bad in a way as well, because I think social media is just horrible. But obviously for the better use, it's great. But so technology has been very positive on our side regarding videos to promote, because it's very practical to promote it. So that's where it's really good.
And you are very much so without social media you wouldn't be able to get the amount of exposure to have the level of reach that you would. So it's almost impossible to work in industry without a social media presence.
Yes, and you have to be very active.
Right.
And the problem is probably also you have to care about what people say about you. In the other industries you might not care about it, but in makeup you actually have to keep everyone happy, the customers, right? Because they want to have their looks, or it's all about looks, all about the appeal of you on the day. So there's no leniency in terms of how you can treat your clients.
Yes. So it's our industry is everything is what you see. It's for example, if I post something about what I'm doing today, there's no interest, but if I take a selfie with makeup on, it does good. It's just so just how people think and what they want to see from me, because I'm a makeup artist in a makeup school. They want to see makeup. So they want to see my life, but I do think they want like secret things they want to see, but you have to obviously be private with that. So
that's interesting as well, because I mean I know that so have you seen the movie The Truman Show?
No.
The synopsis for it, I think a lot of people, at least that I've heard of the movie, trying to find it quite ironic these days, because in the movie they portray a scenario where a guy has his entire life is a reality show. So the entire city or the town that he lives in and everybody interacts with are actors. And he doesn't know he's in the reality show, but everybody is observing him. And back when that movie came out, that was almost like a big joke. It's almost like, this is comedy because, this will never happen. And now we have people that every day share their entire life. As a question to end off on, I want to ask, there is the element where you are a professional in terms of what you do, and as more people get interested in the work that you do, they also almost kind of want to know about you, because they will learn about the work you do, they think what you do is awesome, so you must be awesome as well, and like what's about your life and what's about you. How much do you think is that appropriate, or how much would you actually be willing to share, or do you recommend people share for your up and coming students?
I'm trying to keep it very positive on my social media, and also not go to politics and all of that, because that's just too much different opinions. But I like to share, especially skin, because I've got a little bit of skin condition, so I would I take them on that journey, and when I give them makeup advice, I tell them. And then I made a story about my makeup, my high school, what happened, everything in the high school, and that was a great hit. Not a great hit. A lot of people actually, that's the first time I've actually opened up.
Right.
So there was a very good response on
they related
social
very
media,
well.
People wanted to see so many people related, and it made me feel so much better, because you always think you're the only one going through stuff. So that opened up a audience more. I'm not only just makeup, and I've got a makeup school. I'm actually also had stuff happen to me by being vulnerable. So that was
there's an amazing relation how people can relate to you and how they can interact with you is actually it broadened your audience in a way that's bigger than whatever you could have necessarily achieved professionally if you kept it that way. But that's fascinating.
And
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your worldview with us. I hope a lot of other people find it interesting and inspiring. And we appreciate the time that you've given us.
It's a pleasure.
Is there anything else you'd like to add? And where can our viewers find you if they're interested in your professional or your academy services?
Yeah, so they can just go to my website. It's just www. How many W's are there? Three.
Yeah.
Just saying, I did a radio interview, and then they asked me at the end. I was so nervous because it was live. And then they asked me at the end, so where can people find you? I gave the wrong number, the wrong email, so nobody could have found me. And I said everything for exposure. But I'm here again. www. Just type in Lisa Brown and something will pop up somewhere.
That's fantastic. Yeah. We'll also have all of your social medias and your websites in the description below. So thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to hearing from you, and have a great WorldView.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you very much. Bye.